And our first story, the Director of Operations for the National Security, Lieutenant Colonel Frank Ajiman, whose secondment was reversed following the preliminary investigations into the assault on City FM journalist Caleb Kudah, is suspected to have been reassigned as the commanding officer for the 64 Infantry Regiment for the Ghana Armed Forces. Now, according to documents cited by TV3 News, they are also contained in internal memos of the Ghana Armed Forces, not confirming whether the reassignment is being done prior or after the Caleb Kudah incident. We'll bring you more. On May 21, the National Security Ministry, after its preliminary investigations, sanctioned 4 of its operatives for their involvement in the assault of City FM journalist Caleb Kudah. The investigative committee also indicted the Director of Operations, Lieutenant Colonel Frank Ajiman, and 3 other officers for their misconduct, which is in contravention to its standard operation procedures. The sector minister, following the committee's report, then reversed the secondment of Lieutenant Colonel Ajiman to the National Security. However, a section of documents cited by TV3 News indicates that Lieutenant Colonel Ajiman has been reassigned as a commanding officer for the 64 Infantry Regiment of the Ghana Armed Forces. City FM journalist Caleb Kudah was detained by national security operatives on May 12 for filming state vehicles on the premises of the National Security Ministry. The operatives also stormed the premises of City FM to pick up his colleague Zoya Bubeidu for receiving the pictures of the abandoned vehicles via WhatsApp. But there are bigger questions we need to ask. Does this also give an indication that the status quo or the structure of our national security don't care anything about the concerns being raised about what the role was by the former Director for National Security, apparently, who should have been reassigned somewhere else, but now suspected to going to head the 64 Infantry Battalion. But let's speak to the Chief Executive for Securities Warehouse Limited, but also a security consultant, always a regular contributor to type of this content right here on the channel. And Adam Bona is joining us. Good evening to you. You take a look at the leaked document we currently have in our possession. Somebody who has observed the reigns of security in our country for a couple of years now, what would you say is the first indicator for you? What does it tell you?
Well, good evening, Roland, and thank you for having me. It tells us we are in a state of confusion, total confusion within our national security architecture, and you can see the ripple effects. Where a soldier has been killed in the Abasi, at Tebubu, Abasi area. We have had a head teacher who has been shot dead somewhere in Cape Coast. We have had a robbery, a violent robbery this morning in the Achim area, and the list is unending. When you find your security in a state of confusion as we find ourselves now, then you know that once the head is rotten, definitely, when the fish head is rotten, it doesn't take too long. The remainder of the fish would get rotten. And you have national security that, in terms of our, security architecture, they are supposed to coordinate and, ensure that they collate or collect intelligence and probably work with that intelligence by giving it to the stakeholders, i.e. the police, immigration, fire, prisons, and what have you. But unfortunately, they themselves are hosting an illegality called the, operational wing of the national security, which is illegal. And so that probably would be my intro when it comes to this purported reassignment of Lieutenant Colonel Ajiman to the 64 Infantry Brigade.
Now, if we have this indeed reassignment taking place and it comes to fruition, that would have a certain implication on the morale of his colleagues in the military. How dire could that be?
Well, it depends. It would, but I think that there is a massive cover-up within the national security. Unfortunately, it looks like Lieutenant Colonel Ajiman has been caught in that web. And I'm saying that because you ask yourself, why is DSP Azugu his name was mentioned in the latest, brouhaha at the National Security. There were close to 15 officers who were involved. Why is it that amongst all of them, it is just Colonel Ajiman whose name was mentioned specifically in the investigative or the report or the, that letter or the release signed by Honorable Kandapa, the Minister of National Security? Call it, probably I say, there is something we need to know which they are not telling us. The 3 police officers, their names have not been mentioned. What they've done, Colonel Ajiman, if indeed he's been posted to the 64 Infantry, we know is an elite, call it, organ of the Ghana military. I mean, this is the elite unit. And so he needs the total support of the men and women he's supposed to be leading as an elite unit. And so if his name is mentioned this way, and you say his secondment has been withdrawn, and he's going back to his agency, and then he gets there and we are told that he's going to the elite unit, going to head it, and we haven't heard anything from the national security or otherwise, then I would say that it looks like there is something ongoing at the national security, and Colonel Ajiman probably has to be the sacrificial lamb. Because the truth is that how is he going to even work as the CEO, the commanding officer for the 64 Infantry Regiment? It's going to be very difficult. Secondly, how is, assuming, that anyone who understands military operations at the international level, it will be difficult for Colonel Ajiman, what is hanging around his neck now, to actually go there and lead any battalion either at the UN level, at the AU level, or even at the ECOWAS level, because his image is in tatters. I think that Honorable Kandapa and his people need to provide us answers. We need those answers as soon as possible. Do they know something we are not aware of? Because sending him, when you are saying he's going to be investigated, and he ends up getting reassigned to the elite unit, I think that there is something. And so probably somebody is not talking to us. And so, Roland, we've got to continue to interrogate it and ask questions, because it looks like there is a cover-up, a massive cover-up at the national security, which we need to know. If you know what happened in court today, where the presidency has been cited, where national security again has been cited, Ayawa Suwes-Wagon has been cited. Yeah. How come we still have Azugu, who, according to the presidential commission that was set up, the report, the president didn't say it is agreed with regards to that unit being scrapped. That unit is still there, and yet he's part of the team that beat up Caleb.
Well, thank you very much. And we have the Chief Executive of Securities Warehouse Limited, and Adam Kudah, who is a security analyst, helping us with this leaked document we're having from the Ghana Armed Forces, indicating that the former Director for Operations National Security, Colonel Frank Ajiman, possibly could be heading to the 64 Infantry Battalion. We'll see how that goes. We'll be exploring this in the next news hours and see how it goes.